my name is Professor Rad, and in this video we'll be talking about necessary and unnecessary zeros in a real number. So first, let's start out by what that even means. So we're going to begin with a note, and as always, if you ever want to pause the video to copy something down, feel free to do so. But let's just walk through this note. So it says, when writing a real number, a zero is unnecessary if it's the last digit to the right of a decimal point, or it's the last digit after a decimal point. What we mean when we say it's unnecessary is we mean we can get away without writing that zero. So for example, if we have $16, we could write it that way, or we could write it as 16.00. Both ways of writing this amount of money mean the same amount of money, right? So whether I say you owe me $16 or whether I say you owe me $16 and no cents, you owe me $16, right? Either way. So these zeros would be called unnecessary because I don't need them. I don't have to write the number with those zeros there. It's not wrong to write them there, but they're just extra. I don't need them. And sometimes that can make it more confusing to say the name of a number. So we're going to begin working through this example here by removing any unnecessary zeros. So we're going to rewrite each of these decimal numbers, each of these real numbers, without a zero there. So to start out, I've got 50.0. So this zero is unnecessary because it's the last digit of the number and it's to the right of the decimal point. So that means it's unnecessary. I don't have to write it. So I could write this number just as 50. Now, when you have a number and you get rid of all of the stuff to the right hand side of the decimal point, like we did here, after we got rid of that zero, there's nothing left on the right. You no longer have to write this decimal point. Again, it's the same idea as over here. When we have 16.00, that's the same as 16. And if I wanted to, I could put the decimal point there, but there's nothing that comes afterwards, so we tend not to. So that's going to be the same case here. We've gotten rid of everything to the right of the decimal point. So you don't even have to write the decimal point anymore. You can just write it as 50. Now I'm going to put it back here just so we can make an observation. Everything now that's part of this number is on the left-hand side of the decimal point. And zeros are only unnecessary if they're to the right of a decimal point. So what that means is we have to write this zero. This is a necessary zero because it changes the meaning of the number. Here's what I mean by that. 50.0 is the same as 50. These two numbers are equal. They represent the same amount. I don't have to write the second zero because I can get rid of it and have the same number. If I try to do that with the 50, if I were to get rid of that zero, that would leave me with 5. And 50 and 5 are not the same number. So removing that zero changes the meaning of the number. So it's necessary, it's important. I need it there in order to make sure I have this number. So that's really what we're saying when we say a zero is necessary or it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary if removing it doesn't change the amount of the number. And you find it by seeing if it's the last digit on the right of a decimal point. So let's work through these other examples and see if we can find any more necessary or unnecessary zeros. So here we have 8.09. So we have a decimal point and we have a zero on the right-hand side. What we're going to check for here to see if we need to write that zero or not is it the last digit on the right? So in this case, it's not. The 9 is the last digit. So because the 9 is the last digit, that means we need this zero. So 8.09 has to be written as 8.09. I can't write it without that zero there, otherwise it changes the meaning of the number. Let's take a look at part C. We have 84.0350 or 0350. So we have two zeros in this case. Let's see if either one, maybe one or both or none of them are unnecessary. So it's unnecessary if it's the last digit to the right of the decimal point. So currently the last digit to the right of the decimal point is the 0. So it's the last digit and it's on the right. So it's unnecessary. We can get away without writing that 0. So I'm going to start this as 84.035. I don't need that 0 all the way at the end. It's extra. So now I'm going to repeat that process because we had 2 zeros on this one. So we have 84.035. So this time the last digit is a 5. It's not a 0. So remember, the 0 is only unnecessary if it's the last digit. So this 0 is necessary. We need to have it. So this is going to be our final answer. 84.0350 is the same as 84.035. So these are the same number. All right, and let's take a look at this last one here. Oh gosh, we have lots of zeros on this one, huh? 1.00700. So let's begin. This 0 all the way to the right, it is the last digit, and it is to the right of a decimal point. So that means we don't need it. So we can rewrite this number as 1.0070. Now, as we did before, we're going to repeat this process examining the zeros. So again, look at the last digit. In this case, the last digit is a 0, and it's to the right of the decimal point. So we don't need it. We can get rid of it. That's going to give us 1.007. Now, the last digit after a decimal point is a 7. It's no longer a 0. So that means any other zeros we have, those are going to be necessary. So 1.007 is going to be the only way we can write this number. By the way, there's a secret agent hiding out here. It's 007. Da, da, da. Okay, so with that, that's going to conclude this video. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day, and bye for now.